So much media, so little time. Who keeps track of it all? That would be me. This is Bob Andelman, and this is the Mr. Media Interview, sponsored by the audiobook edition of Will Eisner's Spirited Life, now available on iTunes and Audible.com, and recorded live on blogtalkradio.com from the new media and home shopping network capital of the world, St. Petersburg, Florida.
No, I think it's a good idea. Good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Michael Davis, and I'm a filmmaker. And 2 days ago, my girlfriend broke up with me. And I figured since this is what I do, making a movie to win her back would probably be a kind of cool thing, better than chocolate or flowers.
All the air escaped my lungs at the end of Ray Schlogel's independent film For Love Stacie. I was angry, I was petulant, and then the credits rolled, and I was reminded that it was a drama, not a documentary. Poor dumb old Mr. Media was so sucked into this tale of heartbreak and obsession that I completely lost sight of what I was watching. And that's when I realized what a fine job the independent filmmaker who wrote, starred, directed, and produced Stacie had done. Schlogel came to my attention in an unusual way. I read about him in one of Uber networker Chris Brogan's voluminous posts. Brogan wondered why Schlogel's film hadn't received more attention and asked his readers to help the man out. Now, I read Brogan daily and get a lot of value and insight from his blog, and I recommend it to you highly. So I decided to pay it forward, as they say, by inviting Schlogel on Mr. Media as my guest. Now, you can watch For Love Stacie for free at Schlogel's website, www.undergroundplanet.com. He accepts donations there, and you can also order a DVD copy of the film. Ray, welcome to Mr. Media.
Hey, thanks for having me.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Also, just to mention, there's a new URL. I finally got one, so people can just go to forloveandstacie.com and get to it that way as well.
Oh, great. This is like breaking news right here.
Yeah, I guess so. And a lot of people, you know, it's funny because I didn't realize till like I started doing the movie that Stacie can be named spelled 5 different ways. So in this case, this Stacie is Stacie. Just to be clear.
Just to be clear. I've been making poor old Ray nervous the last couple of days because he keeps contacting me saying, "Have you watched the movie yet? Have you watched the movie yet?" Now, why he thought I would give anything away before we did the show, it's kind of like if you saw Truth or Dare, as Warren Beatty points out about Madonna, she doesn't exist unless she's on camera. You know, and I kind of feel the same way about the microphone. Why give it away?
Right. Well, you know, I will say that you're the first person that I've heard say they were petulant. I'm taking that as a compliment. I don't know if I should, but I'm taking that as a compliment.
I take it as a compliment. And you know, it's obviously we don't want to give away anything about certainly the second half of the movie, let alone the end. But I did get to the end, and I was like, "Damn that bastard!" And then I was like, "Oh, right. Not a documentary. Idiot."
It's a movie, and you know what's kind of funny about that is that, like, in my mind, when the movie starts out and he says I'm a filmmaker, it kind of says I'm making a film. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I'm giving it away at the beginning, although nobody really kind of snaps to that until later.
No, you kind of get lost in that. I think it's kind of like and you know, I really felt dumb at the end. I hadn't even seen a picture of you. Because I didn't, and so I didn't even realize I'm just being very honest. I didn't even realize that was you the whole time. So I was completely sucked into it, which is, you know, great credit to you, I think. And before we go any further, I want to give out this. If you've got a comment or a question for Ray Schlogel, the writer, director, producer, and star of the new film For Love Stacie, you can give us a call, talk to him directly, 1-646-595-3135. Feel free to give us a call. So where on earth did you get the idea for this crazy story?
Well, for a long time I'd wanted to do something, and at that time, because that movie came out actually technically in 2006, it just went online for free about, 2 weeks ago? Okay. But at that time I was shooting with a Canon, and it was shooting DV, and I knew I couldn't do something like Gone with the Wind or, something huge and vast and cinematic. So it took a long time to come up with a concept that would work with that format, where it didn't have to have big jib shots and dolly shots and all that kind of thing. And basically, I guess it came from a lot of reality TV and people talking to the camera and thinking, what can I do? What can I shoot right now, like in my garage? And that was the start of it.
Good, because I was afraid you were going to say, I lived it, Bob, and...
Well, that's another story, and I don't think that we want to talk. This ain't Dr. Ruth or like an emotional show, and I don't think we want to go there.
Well, okay, now I'm curious. Is any of this taken from life?
No, actually, when it first started, I was in a happy relationship, and I guess that art imitated life, or life imitated art, and that fell apart. But I was actually in a good mood when I started writing it. Which, I say writing it, but it was really done without a script. There was basically a one-page sloppy notes of how I wanted the scenes to be and what I wanted them to be, but there was no actual script.
Really? Is it so? Okay, so you had an outline of some sort, obviously, and you were able to convey. Now, it's not like there's a lot of actors in the film. I mean,
no, and that was intentional too, because for it to work the way that I want it seems like a lot of the docudramas that I've seen, or mockumentary kind of stuff that I'd seen, actors most of the time seem to have that little bit of theatrical air to them. If that makes sense, and I love it, and it can work in other cases. But if I wanted the story to be really believable to me, I wanted to use non-actors, and I wanted to just do interviews, and that's kind of how I did it. And that's also why.
Go ahead.
That's also why we did the interviews on the street, was because I really wanted real people.
Well, funny you would mention that. Folks, here's a little clip from one of those on-the-street interviews.
I don't think they would work, though, because once you lost the heart, it's very hard to get it back. I'm sure there was very distinct reason why they broke up. There was not overnight decisions to break up. It was something has to do with their hearts no longer each other. Once people change their mind, they are gone to different mind or toward different lifestyle. It's just not the same anymore. You have to give her a chance to hang out with other people or spend some time with the other men. That man she was with was working, or whether she was actually in love with that man or whether she loved that man, until she finds out herself whether there was that man has to give her a chance, time to think about it. That was the word. Just listen to each other, just be happy each other.
Oh, if only all of life could be solved by a woman on the street who we don't know telling us about it. But I mean, it's an interesting gimmick.
Well, it was weird because, like, when we set out, me and my production manager went out and did those interviews, and I really expected a lot more of the women that we interviewed to be like, no, that's dumb, that's weird, that's crazy, that's stalkerish, And it really surprised me how many of the women we talked to went, oh, I think that's neat. That might work.
So will you be doing movies in your private life in the future for all of your women?
I hope not. I hope that's not necessary. And I think I don't think For Love and Stacie really gets a sequel with that ending. Did I lose you?
Ray, still there?
Yeah, I am.
Sorry about that. There was a lot of static, and suddenly I lost my connection. Tell me about the woman who plays Stacie.
You know, again, a lot of that was just taken from fact. April was someone who, just as the movie outlines, she was introduced by a mutual friend, and I was told, you know, at the time she was working for a local access channel called Austin Music Network, and I was working on Brandon Jenkins' music video. She happened to be doing a country show onto the Austin Music Network, and somebody said, you should use her. She's really cute. You should put her in the video. And that's how we met.
And her last name is?
April Perez.
April Perez, that's what I thought. I don't have a sheet of credits in front of me, so I'm a little hamstrung by that. But she's adorable. I mean, if I was 20 years younger, I'm afraid I'd want to move to Austin and track her down. She's
well, she's not in Austin anymore, and I think she's had her fair share of getting tracked down.
Well, I'm not saying anything, you know. I'm not.
Well, you know, I mean, that was one of the reasons when I came up with the concept, literally, and I don't know, I'm not sure what all I wrote online or what all you've read, but when the concept came to me, I thought she was perfect because she has that just cuteness and sexiness and personality that anybody could like, it seems to me. And I literally had the concept one night. I called my production manager the next day and told him the idea, and he liked it. And I immediately called her, and the conversation pretty much went, hey, I've got this. And remember, we've only worked together like twice or so on little things. And I said, hey, I've got this idea for a movie, and I want you to be in it. And she said, well, what's the part? And I said, you'd be playing this girl named Stacie. And she said, well, what's the name of it? And I said, it's called For Love and Stacie. And she was like, I'm in. I got the lead. Okay, I'll do it. And it went from that conversation to filming it and done and edited in 6 months. So it was a pretty quick little turnaround on that one.
Yeah. Well, and how long did it actually take to shoot the film?
6 months. It went. We started filming like pretty much like a week or two later. And it was done, edited, shot in the can, as they say, in 6 months.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking maybe, you know, pre-production, production, post-production.
No, there was no pre-production. The pre-production was me calling people.
Got it. And let me see. Is it giving too much away? Well, you know what? Let's do this, because there's probably people listening who are wondering what the plot of this movie is, and I don't want to give away too much. You describe what the movie's about.
Well, because of just like you're alluding to, the one line or whatever you want to call it is pretty much a filmmaker is trying to win back his ex by making a movie for and about her. And you know, I think that's part of the problem with the whole marketing thing is that with this film in particular, I really wanted to do something different, but it's so different that it's hard to tell people what it's about and explain to them why they need to go see it and why it's good without tipping the hand, you know?
Yeah, well, that may be something that the producer needs to work on maybe a little bit, because the film is there. There's no doubt you get sucked into that film, your film, and you know, there was no doubt in my mind I was going to see it through to the end, and obviously I'm very glad I did. I had a very interesting reaction from my perspective, though, in that and people who listen to the show regularly know I've got a just about teen daughter, and you know, there are aspects of this that really disturb me because I thought, you know, there's so many things that when you have a girl that you worry about that probably when you have a boy you don't worry about the same things. And I see this, and I'm just, boy, it's so hard not to give anything away. But I thought, oh my God, that's why I was so upset, because I was just like, oh my goodness,
which is awesome. That you know, I mean, The whole point, I think, of any movie or art in general, and I don't want to get like too philosophic or anything because I promise you I'm not that deep. But the whole point of any art should be like that it evokes emotion, no matter what that emotion is. And that's what I was hoping to do with this, you know. And some of it isn't all happy.
Right.
But
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and one of the things that was interesting is you besides filming this kind of pretty much documentary style, and you do the woman in street interviews, you also interview Stacie's parents, and that was just like, oh my God, I was squirming in my chair watching that, and I didn't even know what was going to happen.
And I thought it was cool when you said that it upset you and being a parent and everything, because at the first screening there was one of those friends that you've known forever but you don't see very often, you know, and he was in the theater. That we probably had 80 or 90 people at the first screening, and he knows me in real life, right? He knows me. When he saw me on the screen, he knows me, and he was sitting a row away from Mr. Jensen at the first screening, and he said he was just losing his mind watching this film, and he kept looking over at the dad like, how is he hanging with this? How is he sitting in his seat, you know? But yeah, they did just phenomenal, I thought. And the way I did the interviews with them was basically, okay, this you're the parents, and if your daughter did this and her ex-boyfriend did this and you always liked him, so you don't have any hard feelings, and I'm going to ask you the questions and you can answer with real answers or you can make stuff up. It doesn't matter to me, but that's kind of where you're coming from, and that's how we did it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think part of the reason that I got so sucked into this, when I was in college, which was 30 years ago now, I mean, there was a girl who broke my heart, and I was very close to her mom, because it had been going on for a while, and I'd have lunch with her mom. And I remember after it happened, I still talk to the mom a lot, and it's like, well, what do you think? And I look back at that and I go, oh my God, I was so incredibly immature and so unworldly, and I God bless that woman for putting up with me, because she had no reason to. I mean, it was just, and so, when I watch those scenes, it's like, oh, it just sent chills.
Well, I think that whole losing somebody is something that anyone can relate to. Absolutely.
I mean, it's that close to the heart for anybody, male or female, and the difference is that, most people, I think, the vast majority of people know where the line is drawn. Then there's people who don't seem to know where the line is drawn. That's what that's the person who makes a movie to prove their love to Stacey. Now, the budget for Love and Stacie, I understand, made Robert Rodriguez's first film seem extravagant, right?
Yeah, it was $3,000, and I was actually trying to think the other day where that money went, and I don't even know. I mean, we've had to buy tapes, but I don't know what else we spent it on.
Coffee, donuts.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's that scene at the restaurant where we had coffee, and I tipped the bartender well that night, but I really don't know, but I know that the number that we came up with when we were wrapping it all up, we wanted to figure it out, and it was about $3,000 total.
Well, let me ask you about the restaurant scene, and can't really. This is so tricky, but basically, there's a scene where you meet with Stacie, and you shoot it from outside, and it's done. I thought this was great. You're not mic'd, I don't think. I don't think we have microphone.
That's subtitles.
Yeah, subtitles. And, it was that much more gripping somehow, getting subtitles of what's being said between these two. And then afterward, you do, you kind of Monday morning quarterback it. Was part of that, did the restaurant know that you were filming there?
No. No, like I said, so much that it was just run and gun, and we did it exactly how it played out. Like when Nadia is telling me to move the table, she was really telling me to move the table so that I could get in frame and she could see me from across the street with the camera. And yeah, we just played it out. And I actually told him, like, we had practiced me. Well, God, now we go back to not giving any way. I had pretty much said to the 4 people that were there working on it, look, if I get knocked out, if my head hits the concrete or something, just take the tapes and go. Just take the tapes and go, which you understand because you saw it, and I guess everybody else will have to see it. But yeah, that's how that played out.
Real guerrilla filmmaking.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. I think I can say this without giving too much away. Is that originally there was actually a lipstick camera in the restaurant, and it was on the table, and I had a lavalier mic, and there was going to be sound. What happened was midway through, I realized we don't have the rights to Janis Joplin, because Janis Joplin was playing at the restaurant. And so the whole subtitle thing, which I agree with you, I really think it works well. Of course, that's I made it, so I'm biased. I totally agree that it ups the intensity of that film, of that scene, but it was totally serendipity. It wasn't planned or written that way. It was just that we were doing it in a restaurant that didn't know we were doing it, and they had music playing.
Wow. Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was very. I mentioned in the introduction, and I have to ask you about this. That I learned about the movie through Chris Brogan's blog, and how did he come to find out about it? How did you get involved with him?
I can't say enough good things about Chris. It was somebody else on the web, or actually on Twitter, and I'm on Twitter now. A few people have been messaging me while we've been doing this, but it's just one of those Twitter things, is that somebody had seen me calling out and telling people to go watch for free, and that I was trying to get it out there, and crossing my fingers that it would go viral somehow or something, because like I say in the post, you just, as a filmmaker, if you're not going to make money, you just want your stuff to be seen. And he had seen the movie, and they had a pretty big following, like 9,000 people, and they said, go watch this movie. Well, I guess they watched all of it, and then they decided they couldn't promote it because their partners were Christian. And I'm not making this up, but he wrote me, and he sent me a direct message, and he was so nice about it. He said, look, I really like the film, and I'd love to put it out there, but I can't because of my partners, and they might get mad, but there's this guy, Chris, and you should hit him up. And I did, and we had a few exchanges, kind of like you and I did, and he kind of took up the cause, and I just, like I said, I can't thank him enough. He's got 90,000 something followers and does so much, and for him to take a risk outside of the box of what he usually does and mention this little indie film and indie filmmaker was just more than flattering.
And so I'm very curious, because now obviously I responded to it. How many people did you hear from, and what other kinds of things happened as a result of that?
Well, there's this. There's going to be a screening here in Austin at Kick Butt Coffee on the 3rd, and we've screened it in theaters too. But yeah, I mean, it hasn't gone viral yet. I'm still praying to the viral gods. But I have had a lot of people tweeting about it, posting about it, blogging about it, who either just have heard about it from word of mouth or directly from Chris.
Now, one of the other people who gets some great exposure in this film is Brandon Jenkins, the country musician.
Yeah.
So you had done video work with him, right?
Yeah, I do a lot of music videos, and that's one of the things that I watch a lot of indie stuff as well, and I think a lot of indie filmmakers overlook the power of local music. And I was lucky enough that I knew a lot of bands, and just like I just want my movie to be seen, they just want their music to be heard. And so there's a great soundtrack in there. Kevin Martin and the Hiwatts, Brandon Jenkins, Good in the Sack, Trepanation, and all these bands. But Brandon, in particular, because her being in that music video was actually real, I definitely wanted to include him.
Yeah, it's I'm glad you brought that up. I left that out in my notes, but the music throughout the film is terrific. It's well chosen, and it's real lively stuff. I like Brandon in particular, but I liked a lot of it. So, so before we wrap up, because we're going to run out of time, your website gives the impression that you truly are the model of the impoverished filmmaker. How are you holding up?
I'm getting by, It was really overwhelming and touching because at the time that I released it, and it says it on the blog on the website. Things weren't as good as I'd prefer them to be. A lot of my business, a lot of what I do is music videos, and local musicians. Pretty much, they have a hard time paying for a music video or getting something done during the best of times. And as we know right now, it isn't the best of times. So, but through donations, I was actually able to raise enough to keep the electricity on. And that was unexpected, more than unexpected. That people would go watch the movie for free and actually feel inspired to donate something. That just meant a lot. And I'll also say that I doubt if I'll ever get rich doing that way of doing things by giving it away for free. But it just it really means a lot that somebody takes the time and is willing and is moved enough to do that.
Well, a lot of people will tell you, and I think I'm an example of this, that giving something away online, it doesn't seem like a great business plan to most people. However, I know in my case, we don't charge anything for Mr. Media. There's a certain amount of advertising dollars. But what I find is I get other work because of it, and it exposes me and what I can do to other people. And I suspect that for Love and Stacie is, at this point, you said 2 to 3 year old movie. But not to most people. It's 2 to 3 years old for you, but most people have yet to discover it. So by giving it away and letting people see it, hopefully they say, hey, I should keep Ray in mind for something else, or maybe I'll hire him to do this. I like what he did there. So I think there's that indirect benefit.
That would be nice, and it's literally made more in donations than it made in DVD sales in the last 2 years. And it did that in about 3 weeks. So there's no way I can complain.
So are you gonna do another movie? Have you done another movie since?
I'm working with somebody else on a documentary that's actually a real documentary. And I'm working with a company called VAST, V-A-S-S-T, and about to do a training DVD on how to make music videos with no budget, which could translate to making movies as well, I guess, for no budget.
Okay. Well, folks, listen, you can learn more about the film and video work of Ray Schlogel and about his indie feature, For Love and Stacie, by going to the website, www.forloveandstacie.com. It's for F-O-R-L-O-V-E and A-N-D, Stacie, S-T-A-C-I-E.com. You can watch the film online for free, or you can order a DVD of his film and put a couple dollars back in the poor guy's pocket. You can also find Ray on Facebook, Twitter, and MySpace, and there are links to his pages on all those places from For Love and Stacie, or his business URL, which is undergroundplanet.com. Ray, what can I say? I got a real emotional response to the film, and what more can you ask for?
That's awesome. And, the one thing I tell people, and I think this was part of the problem with the fest, is that it's It doesn't start with a car explosion. So people need to watch the whole thing and not watch 5 minutes and think they have it figured out.
Oh yeah, listen. I'll repeat that. You got to watch this to the end. You got to see where it goes with this. It's worth your time. Ray, what can I say? Thank you so much for joining us on Mr. Media today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Thanks for Chris Brogan. People need to go check him out and add him. And thanks so much for having me. I totally, really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Best of luck.
Thanks.
And folks, for more interviews with your favorite independent film directors and writers, producers, surf over to our main website, www.mrmedia.com. That's where you can listen to my earlier conversations with the men and women behind Street Ballers, Harmony and Me, Obsessed, Dog Days of Summer, The Singing Revolution, Steam, Little Chicago, Election Day, In the Shadow of the Moon, and many more. And please think about writing an online review of Mr. Media, casting a vote for Mr. Media, or marking Mr. Media as one of your favorites. Whether you listen on Blog Talk Radio, TrueSlant, Digital Journal, Vox, Podcast Pickle, Mediafly, Podfeed.net, Blueberry, Zencast, Current, Zimbio, or Odeo. And subscribe to Mr. Media on iTunes, and you'll never miss a show. Just search Mr. Media Interviews from within iTunes and subscribe for free. Or subscribe to Mr. Media's blog on the Amazon Kindle Reader. You can also listen with a piece of string and a tin can in many locations. If you've got an idea for a guest, email me directly at bob@andelman.com. That's ANDELMAN. You can also follow me on Facebook or on Twitter, www.twitter.com/Andelman. Thanks so much for joining us today. Always appreciate when you give up a little piece of your day and spend it with us. Thanks for listening, everybody.